Hi, I'm Lindy Earl, and I'm with my friend Kenneth Stepp. Hi, Kenneth.
Hi, Lindy.
How are you doing?
I am wonderful.
I'm
Thank you.
wonderful too. Um, I have been divorced for almost 5 years, Kenneth.
A little over 5 years.
Okay, and you had a 24-year
I
marriage,
did.
and I had a 25-year marriage. So similar paths. And we are discussing today how to get over a relationship. In the past, Kenneth and I have both been entrepreneurs. We've owned our own businesses. I've been a college professor. Um, we've both been successful in that world. Currently, we are both authors and speakers. I speak more than Kenneth does,
True.
more my thing. And we're both columnists at,
Georgia News Daily.
and you can read columns on relationships at
GeorgiaNewsDaily.com.
.com. See how we did that? Really, really creative. So, we are here to discuss how to get over a relationship. Everybody's been there. Yes, Kenneth?
Yes, we have, sadly.
Sadly. And I think when you first have your breakup, whether you're 16 years old or you've been married for a year or been married 24 and 25 years, you think it's never going to end. The pain is there. You can't get over this, right?
There are two thoughts. One, you do get over it eventually, you process out. Then you literally learn to live with the pain. So those are
Mm,
two different things, and I hear both.
and I hear both.
Mhm.
Okay, but today we're going to try to share some very specific things you can try to help you get over your last relationship. Let's not put these forward as how to get over your next one. Let's assume your current one is going to work out well. Okay,
Right.
but what's the most common thing you hear about how to get over a relationship? Stay busy.
That and move on to another relationship, which is absurd.
Oh, I do have a friend who the first thing he always says is, you guys get over relationships by getting a new girlfriend,
Right.
and girls get over them with time. He can say it. I'm not buying it.
It's hard to live that.
I would think in both
Yeah.
directions it's hard to live that. Although one of the things I do think that helps you get over a relationship is is dating. That is one of the things I would encourage. But we're not even there yet. I want to talk about that very first thing they always tell you: stay busy. That's great, but nobody tells you how. We're going to tell you how. Okay.
Yeah,
One is throw yourself into work.
absolutely.
Your boss will love you. You'll be more successful. You'll feel better. Your time is full. These are all win, 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 win. This is all good. So spend as much time and as much energy as you can at the office, wherever your office is, even if it's outside. Um, another one, another way you stay busy.
Well, I developed a hobby.
Okay.
Hmm.
Was it a new hobby?
It was brand new,
Okay.
but it
Something.
but it but it was it dovetailed with my two interests, my love of history and my love of historic things.
Oh,
So I would visit. We're here in the South, and I would visit a little southern quaint town, and I would learn the history, and I would meet shop owners, and I would look at old architecture, and usually eat local. Jill and John down the street opened a restaurant
oh, how
and eat
fun.
there. It's a blast. It
See,
is.
I think that's an excellent hobby and really better than mine. I returned to some childhood hobbies and some young adult hobbies, which were fun. I'm a crafter,
Mm.
but my hobbies left me very much alone. You know, if you're doing some sewing, nobody else is on the other side of the sewing machine. Um, so I think your hobby was actually a better choice. But the point is, get involved in a hobby. It could be something you used to do. It can be something new. I would revisit my childhood dreams.
Mm.
I've already jumped out of an airplane, so I didn't have to do that. But if I hadn't, that's something I would have done post divorce.
Hmm.
But what did you want to do? And this actually comes back later too. When we talk about volunteering, you can look at some of your childhood dreams. Um, I think one of the best things you can do is read. Doesn't
Yes.
everybody have a list of books that they're going to read someday?
Actually, study. I pick topics. You pick books.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can see that picking a topic would be a fun way to do it. I also, for the first time, got into internet reading. There are a lot of articles online,
Mhm.
which that's not a plug for Georgia News Daily,
Right,
but I really did find that I enjoy the 5 minute articles. I stopped subscribing to papers to
right,
regular a while ago, and finding the newspapers online, I'm finding very very enjoyable, and they're in your phone,
absolutely.
so you always have them with you. So I found that reading really expanded my mind, was something I used to enjoy, and it's been a very healthy, positive thing for me. I feel better about myself, having new knowledge in my brain.
Me too. I'm a knowledge junkie, so I just love learning new things.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's good for you, healthy.
It is very good for you. Okay, it also makes you a more interesting person. You want to have something to talk about. The next thing goes the opposite direction. I encourage physical exhaustion. What did you do to get physically exhausted after your divorce?
Well, I did yard work, not cutting grass, but I love growing flowers,
Mm,
and that you get out and you dig and you plant and you do that. You do that 5 or 6 hours. You're exhausted,
goodness.
especially if it's sunny.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Mine was definitely yard work. Not only did I have to mow the lawn, which was fine, I built some walls in my front yard, which needed to be done. So I felt good tackling it. I got some triceps out of it that I never had before. Um, made my yard smaller, and I was physically so exhausted that when I hit the pillow, I was asleep as soon as my eyes closed, which meant no thoughts. Have you found, Kenneth, that nighttime is often the time the relationship stuff hits your head?
It is. If you're carrying a lot of thoughts, when you stop, when you put your body in park, that's when those thoughts are going to enter.
Yes.
And if you're not physically exhausted, you'll go to sleep. You'll probably go to sleep the same time you normally do, but a couple hours later, you'll find yourself getting up and thinking about things that you don't really want to think about.
Exactly. So I
Right.
am all for physical exhaustion. The next thing is, I really believe you should limit yourself to one or two confidants. Have a couple people who you know are safe, and only tell your story to them. What do you
Yes.
think about that? You agree?
I have two friends. It's funny you should say two. I have two friends that when something happens in my life, when I'm up, down, if something great happens, something horrible happens, I have these two friends and I reach out to them.
And you want to tell your story. And
I do.
they can be excited for you and with you,
Hmm.
but there are a lot of good reasons not to tell too many people. One, word gets out there, and remember the game telephone as a child,
Right.
right? And it may get changed. People you don't want to hear it and might hear in a changed
Hmm.
version. Not only your ex, possibly your children,
Hmm.
or maybe some good friends who were really trying not to take sides. But I think the number one reason you don't want to repeat your stories too often, only the one or two confidants, is I think every time you say it, while it's good to get the poison out, I think it takes a little bit away from you.
I believe that. We if we're divorced and we're human, uh, we have regrets. We just do. It's very natural. And creating new regrets in this journey is going to happen, but by guarding some of your most private thoughts, you'll create less of them, I
True.
think. Mhm.
I I think it was Calvin Coolidge. I apologize if I had the quote wrong, but it was, I've never had to apologize for something I didn't say.
That was Calvin Coolidge.
So you won't be sorry if you choose to only confide in one or two people.
Right.
I think that's part
And these,
of
and these are very trusted
very trusted people,
people.
people who really have your back and are not going to be judging you.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, so that's just another thing you can do to help get over your relationship. Um, Now, one thing, I'm not sure we agree on this one, but I have heard people say you simply set a date. And I know people that would work for them. One idea is never date somebody who hasn't been divorced for 2 years. And so, in reverse, the obvious would be don't date somebody for 2 years. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, we're all individuals, and what if they're really good looking?
No, it is possible that you
Oh,
could meet your significant other in those first 2 years.
uh-huh.
So, and I'm not saying these are hard and fast rules. Every situation, this is what we've learned so far. We might learn something different tomorrow. But another rule is, especially if it hasn't been a 20-year relationship, is there's a 60-day rule. After a breakup, you just leave yourself freedom for 60 days. But after 60 days, you start taking steps. You do something. You take measures to slowly,
Gingerly.
to start, stop the grieving process. There's another rule. There are lots of time rules out there. So this is something that I'm making up as I go. That says you need half the time of your relationship. So if you dated somebody for a year, you need 6 months. There's another one that says it's 1 month for every year. So if you've been in a 12-year marriage relationship, then you need a year to get over it. Now, I'm hopeful that half the total time is wrong, because I was married for 25 years and I do not want to spend 12 and a half years getting over it.
No, me too.
So
It'd be 12 years for me, and that's
a little bit too much.
that's just not acceptable.
I'm really ready.
Right.
Because if you're to be in a 25-year marriage, you have to be well through life. I don't want to spend another 12. I'm going to be
Right.
75 before I can start dating.
I remember writing in an article one time that if someone had told me 6 years ago
Mm-hmm.
that I would ever be divorced, that I would have laughed at them.
I would have.
And then if someone had told me 5 years ago that I would still be single in another 5 years, I would have laughed at them too.
I agree.
But here I sit.
And I'm sitting right next to you. I'm totally with you on both of those.
Right.
Another really healthy thing you can do that benefits you as well as others is volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember we said go back to those childhood dreams? Did you want to be a fireman? Now's the time to go volunteer at a local firehouse. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't think you're going to become a fireman in the next month. But wouldn't it be great to revive an old dream?
It would.
So, you can visit your hospital. The cool thing about volunteering is you get to choose. This is not a job where you have to say, hey, may I? Not a lot of people are going to complain.
And if it doesn't work, you can go find something else.
And that's true.
It's simple.
This is not a commitment forever, and your income is not relying on it. So where did you volunteer?
Well, for me, I just helping people because I have the nonprofit and it's online. I have a lot of people that reach out to me.
So what's your nonprofit?
My nonprofit is Angels Work.
Angelswork.com?
No, it's angelsworkusa.com.
Okay.
But
shameless plug.
Right, and I don't like to plug that, but what happens is I have these people in my life. I had a girl that was homeless with her kids reach out and need heat. Took them there. Well, it's flash forward a few years later, and she's graduating nursing school. And Thursday, I'm going to her pinning.
Oh, that's exciting!
I love this girl. She's a fighter.
And it's all became because of some volunteer work.
No, I met her through that. She would have made it without me.
No, she would have. But right. Your experience with her became because you did something positive after a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
You volunteered. You got busy. I also have a nonprofit. It's actually changing names from Realm to Turnabout 180, and we give Christmas gifts, Easter baskets, school supplies away to families in need. We do have one rule. We give it to people who are not taking government money. So there's a group, it's kind of like your next door neighbor who's just going through a bad day. And I just, when you're throwing yourself into that kind of work, back to the idea of keeping busy, you throw yourself into volunteer work, you're going to feel better and you're going to get over your last relationship. The next one is kind of the opposite view of this. I think you should ask for help. It doesn't matter if you need help with a project around the house. Maybe you have some work that's just literally too heavy for you. Maybe you need some help with something mental or emotional. I didn't think about this until this minute, but one of the things I asked for help was my sister came down from Maryland and we rearranged the entire house. Furniture
Oh
went
my
from one
gosh.
room to another. I'd always wanted a keeping room. We created a keeping room. We rearranged everything and it was cathartic. Talk about just an opportunity, and it kind of combined a lot of things. We were doing a project, it was a huge project, but asking for help is a way to show that you're vulnerable. It's a way of putting yourself back out there, but in a very safe way. I can be vulnerable with a friend or a family member
Hmm.
before you can start being vulnerable with a significant other or in a dating relationship. So I think asking for help is a good first step.
That in a lot of people's lives, that takes more courage than they have at the moment. But it's important.
It is
It's
important.
important to have those people that you trust, have your best interest at heart, and you can just go to them and say, I'm down today. I need to just talk.
Yes, and that's a wonderful
Yeah.
way to be vulnerable and ask for help. Projects. Did we talk about projects?
No.
Throw yourself into a project. Clean out a closet, clean out a cabinet, toss stuff. Again, not to overuse the word cathartic. Um, but if, for instance, your previous person was into water sports and you have a scuba diving suit sitting there that you're never going to wear again because he was the one who was into water sports, not you. And it was great that you went along with it and you have good memories, but getting rid of it will help you in so many ways. What's your first thought?
Well, that's great. It's part of purging, repurposing for others' benefits. There's a lot of pluses in that.
A lot of pluses. You're right. Somebody will benefit, whether you give it to Goodwill or you sell it on eBay. Somebody will benefit from your passing it along.
Absolutely.
You will have more closet space. And I think the best part, you won't be hurt every time. You won't have the visual reminder every time you open that door.
The loss.
The loss, yeah.
You open a closet, you feel that same loss. You're reminded of it. It's painful.
Right. And in my case, as not uncommon, I got the house after the divorce. And so there were memories within the house. Whereas if you're the husband or the person who has not moved, who's not stayed in the home, then you're not faced with, oh my gosh, here's his coffee mug. This is where, he always did this job before. So it's just one less thing in the house, which I think purging is your word. It's a good word.
Right.
Um, I think some type of spiritual something. For me, it might be journaling. I really think writing things, getting the poison out. Where would you go?
I journal too. What I did is I created a free email account and I journal in that. I send myself an email, and that way it's stored. I can go back and I can look at how I felt 4 years ago and see my progress, see if I've drifted the wrong way. I see a lot of things like that, and it's a way to digitally save them forever.
Right,
Hmm.
right. So it's a good way to, just another option for you. I do think dating is a good step forward. Not saying you should do it the first day, nothing wrong with it if you so choose, but I do think putting yourself back out there when you're ready is definitely part of the healing process. I do believe you should join a group. Any Facebook
Absolutely.
groups you would recommend?
Lindy has a group called Single Again, From Devastation to Dating, and it's a support group for singles. It's a free, non judgmental, safe forum, a place where you don't have to say a word. You can just watch the discussions and see if there's something helpful. Or if you have a question, you can just throw it out there and have all these other people that are on the same journey you're on comment and try to help you. It's refreshing.
I love it when we see somebody who has never spoken before suddenly offer up advice. And I just think it's so great to see the new
Yes.
names as well as the old established. It's wonderful that everybody's in this together and we want to help. Um, Often we see the same people over and over. Um,
Going back to the group.
uh-huh.
The group, because it's not a dating site, no one's hitting on each other, and it's just not allowed. It's for help. We do have a few married people in it,
Hmm.
and they are so helpful. Along the journey, they've learned a lot too, and they're living the way most of us want to live. So it's kind of refreshing to see what they have to say about it too.
It is. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
been very interesting to hear their
Mm-hmm.
takes. Very helpful. The last piece of advice would be make sure you have a good network of friends.
Mm-hmm.
These may be totally new people in your life. If I was in very married groups
Me
before,
too.
and while they were very supportive and very helpful, they really didn't get it. And I'm still friends with lots of these people, but I needed a different network of friends who could understand,
Right.
who could empathize and not just sympathize. And they never made me feel like a project. Not that my married friends did, but so anyway, all these things, these are a whole bunch of ideas for you to try because you will get over your relationship. I don't know how long it'll take. It's different for everybody's journey. But for today, our topic was how to get over a relationship. This is Kenneth Stepp, and I'm Lindy Earle, and that's Life After Divorce.